Okay, so now we're going to look at some more specific means that you can apply styling by using combination selectors, which can be a little bit more specific than your typical selectors. Okay, so there are a couple different examples here. So let's just step through them, and then we'll look at the example that's been provided. So a descendant selector is for all descendants of a specific element. So in this example, we have dot paradiv p. So this is basically meant to be applied to all paragraphs that are descendants of this object that has the dot paradiv class. So the idea here is that these would be inside of a div. These are all paragraphs inside of a div with this class. Child selectors are similar to descendant selectors, but they're only for immediate children of a specific element. So it's only one level down. It doesn't dive into like deeper levels. So it's just the like immediate children or immediate siblings. So to do that, you're just adding in this like greater than sign there. Adjacent sibling selector is for only the adjacent sibling occurring after a specific element. So that's going to style something that occurs right after the element with this specific class in this example. And then lastly, we have general sibling selector, which is for all elements that are siblings of a specific element. So siblings basically mean that they occur at the same level in the hierarchy. Okay, so let's have a look at some of these different selectors here. Okay, so I have one selector applied here. So I got dot paradiv p. So this should apply to all of the p tags that occur inside of the div with this class. So you can see in the structure here, this is the div. And inside of there, we have one paragraph inside of the div, and then another div, and then we have another paragraph inside of there. And because this is set up as a descendant selector, even though this paragraph is inside of this div, which is then inside of the outer div that has the class, it's still getting styled with this selector because it is a descendant. It's not an immediate descendant though. And then so if I wanted to change this so that it only affected this first one, then I would just change the selector to a child selector. So save that. And now you can see that that's only getting applied to the first paragraph now because this is the only one that's an immediate child of this div. This isn't because it's within a div within that div. So it's like a grandchild or something, if you want to think of it that way. Okay, let's look at, let's see here. Let's play with a adjacent sibling selector. So this div, what is its sibling? So it's things that are at the same level. So within the body, we basically have this div and then this paragraph. And then within this div, we have a paragraph and another div, and then this paragraph is within that div. So what actually lives at the same level as this div that has this class assigned is actually this paragraph. So if we would change this to a plus p here, then that should be an adjacent sibling selector. And now we see that that styling is getting applied to the adjacent sibling now and not to its descendants. All right, and then last one was the general sibling selector. So let's have a look at that. So I'm going to add in a couple more paragraphs here. I'm just going to change the text. I'm just going to call it new paragraph. And I'm just going to make a couple of those real quick. Okay. So right now I've set this up as an adjacent sibling selector. So if I refresh this, you can see that that style is not applied to these new paragraphs. But if I change this to a general sibling selector, which all we have to do is change this to the tilde there, then now this applies to all of them because these are all general siblings of this div because they occur at the same level. So anyway, this can be helpful because this can allow you to be very specific about how you are going to select specific elements. Anyway, I don't use these a lot, but when I do use them, I tend to use descendant selectors more than the others, but they can be very helpful in very specific use cases. Okay, another kind of related concept is the pseudo class selector. So let's kill this, and then we will. Let's see here. All right, oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me close that. Let's see. We want to look at pseudo class selectors. There we go. All right, cool. So pseudo class selectors basically allow you to change the style based on a condition, right, or a state. One common use of this is like if you hover over a link, you may want the style to change, or if a link has been visited or not visited, you may want its style to change, right? Here I'm actually just applying these to paragraphs. So to create a pseudo selector, you do colon and then the condition. So in this case, we're looking at hover. So if we look at our paragraphs here, we basically have this applied to the p tag, and then this is going to get applied when you're hovering over that paragraph. So if I go over here and I hover, you can see that it changes the symbols because it has this, you're hovering over it, so it's going to take on this pseudo class selector that honors that hover state. Again, you see this applied a lot with a tags for changing how things look when they've been selected or not been selected, or you're hovering over a link or not hovering over a link.